Buy now, pay later is the trend everyone wants to talk about. How do you see the industry adopting this and evolving as a result?
Yeah, so I would think about it as an invention of a form of money. And you use it in your daily life. You have a lot of options for how you want to pay for something. And buy now, pay later is very effective because it gives you flexibility for how to manage your cash flow. So think about it creatively, right? Instead of thinking about how much money each item costs, you think about what you can afford on a monthly basis. And so it gives you tons of flexibility to avoid big chunky payments that don't match with your income. And so it also helps people who have unfairly low FICO scores because it's a form of credit, even though it's such a short duration payment style. And then interestingly, on the business side, merchants love it. It drives traffic to retailers. Retailers see a significant conversion in e-commerce on their platforms and much higher average order values. So it's a win for everybody.
Is it really a good idea for customers to be racking up more debt, though? Could this hurt them down the line?
Well, it's not necessarily more debt. It's a different style of payment. And so it doesn't necessarily mean a consumer is spending more. It just gives them flexibility for how they spend. And I think every consumer really needs to pay attention to income and expenses. And if they have better tools to do that, it just makes it easier to manage.
You say that this is going to lead to a battle at the checkout, if you will. If so, who wins that battle? What companies?
Yep. So I absolutely think there's going to be a battle of the checkout coming. And you might not really have thought about it as you're checking out of an e-commerce company and you click your form of payment. But if you really pay attention, we now have multiple ways to pay with multiple companies in each option. So you have credit cards, you have digital payments like Google Pay, Apple Pay, Shop Pay. You have buy now, pay later players. You have peer-to-peer buttons like Cash App and Venmo. And so each are trying to streamline the experience at a checkout to make it as easy as absolutely possible. And so I think that's what you're going to see in the future. And those that are starting to amass large consumer experiences are going to be able to streamline the button at the checkout. And so you'll start to see an evolution of that as these big consumer payment systems evolve over time.
Well, and you have big tech companies that also want to own that experience. Apple was dealt a pretty big blow by the judge in the Apple Epic ruling, though they won on many of the counts. When it comes to payments, a judge found issue with their payment system. Do you see that having a ripple effect down the line? What does that mean for Apple?
Yeah. I think there's a bifurcation of the impact, one related to games and experiences that actually happen in the app, where moving out of the app becomes a terrible experience for the consumer. And I think in that case, consumers will continue to stay within the app. But outside that ecosystem, I think it highlights the importance of being in the middle of the payment flow. And if you're able to link to an external source for payments for lots of different app types, that's an incredible opportunity for app developers to move their checkout experience beyond the app. And I think being in the payment system is absolutely the critical piece for app developers, having that data on who their consumers are and being able to engage with their customers on any platform with any payment type they'd like to take. And so I do think it's a great win and an important one because the wallet really matters.
I know you're following the crypto market. Jack Dorsey and Square making a big bet on Bitcoin. At the same time, you've got this Litecoin hoax that we just talked about earlier in the show. The head of the Swedish central bank has warned that Bitcoin could collapse dramatically. There still seems to be so much risk and uncertainty associated with the crypto market. How do you balance out all these risks as an individual investor or as a company trying to decide whether to get in or whether to accept cryptocurrency as a form of payment?
Yeah, I think we're just at the early stages of looking at Bitcoin and crypto. And so I see issues like what happened with Litecoin as something that will be happen in ordinary course, particularly until the regulatory environment is evolved and developed for cryptocurrency. And that still has yet to happen. I think what I'm most excited about for the long term is what Bitcoin can do as an open source payment system for the internet. That totally blows my mind and excites me so much. And so if you think back to a little bit of history, and I'll go to 1781 when the Bank of North America got started, it served as a central function to organize independent governing authorities. Those authorities were states. And the Bank of North America evolved them into a central organized function so that we could have a payment system that created a tender type and created a store of value that could be managed. And so what Bitcoin does is it moves this idea to the digital world and updates it such that money can evolve from 1781's vision to a digital version of today. And so as I think about what that means, I think it's a better way to deal with the current ACH system, better way to deal with the current credit card system that we're using today. And in reality, it removes the emotion, it removes sovereign politics out of the system and turns it into a rules-based system that transcends any one country. So I think that's incredibly powerful, and I'm excited about what it holds.